I wanted to briefly come back to the topic of the amphibian crash. And as I talked about, the amphibian crash is in part due to the fact that there's a global epidemic of a fungus, the Chytridiomycota fungus, and that's found all over the world and is one of the things responsible for the crash of the amphibian population. And I mentioned that no one's really sure why or how the chytrid fungus got distributed globally, but I was actually attending a talk this summer about chytridiomycosis in the boreal toads up in the Yellowstone ecosystem, and the question came up about this, and so this has, we believe, been resolved. Anyway, what they've done or discovered through genetic studies of chytrids is that they think that they started in Africa and then got distributed around the globe from Africa. And if you go back to the 1930s, there's a frog which was distributed globally around the planet, which is in the genus Xenopus, Xenopus laevis, and it's the African clawed frog. And it's kind of an interesting story because what the frogs were used for back in the 1930s and 40s is that they were used for pregnancy tests. You know, we take pregnancy tests for granted now. You know, you just urinate on a stick and it will turn color for you or you know, tell you whether you're pregnant or not. But what they did back in the 30s is that they would take urine from a woman, inject it into a frog, and then if the frog ovulated, that would tell you that the woman was pregnant because she had hormone levels sufficient for that. So anyway, the African clawed frog is a small frog. It was used for that test and basically was shipped all over the world, and frogs have escaped or just been released on the different continents. And as they did, they carried with them the chytrid infection. And then also those frogs were really used extensively, even up into modern times. They're still used as a model for embryonic studies. So you know, they've been used in embryology, but they were especially used a lot in the 50s and 60s and so on. So even though we have a lot of other ways to test for pregnancy now, it all goes back, you know, to the 1930s and pregnancy tests that involved using the African clawed frog, which came from Africa. And where the frogs went, they took the chytrid infestation with them, and eventually it got all over the world. And again, the other part of this, though, is if it's been around for so long, why has it been a problem in the last 20 years? And there seems to be a factor here that global warming probably playing a role with this. We don't know exactly what that role is, but it certainly is playing a role in the pathogenicity of the chytrid infection. So it all goes back to the African clawed frog carrying the chytrid infection with it.